Well, a very good evening to all you folks. Hey, it's great to see you. Great to see you. Yep, here we go. Another Sty Times. I want to thank all you folks especially you folks that return for show after show after show. I've gotten so I really enjoy your company and the fact that you're willing to come over and hang out with Sty for an hour 3 times a week and I hope to keep you in at least somewhat entertained, The and ton tonight's topic, worthless information. I hope that I don't present worthless information. I hope you get something out of the shows that you can say, "Oh, well, that was worthless information." Yeah, I prefer to give you a little something to take with you. Uh, I this is non-typical, but I'm going to shout out the folks that have been over there in the chat since early on, yelling hi to each other and the like, and it's so awesome to see folks come in, interact right at the beginning of the show there and during the show. And we had me Dibble jumped in there real early, right away, and then plain old Chuck followed in, and plain old Chuck popped in there at 82 minutes before the show was going to start. He said, I'll be asleep by then. I know how that can be, Chuck. And Groovy Lava Squirrel Travis popped right in there early, too. It's awesome to see you. Richard Gray Music, awesome. Teresa Laguera, oh, there's a sweetheart for you. And Rebecca, thank you, sweetie. It's so good to see you. The Ingalls family, hello, hello. And who else we got in here? Oh, Phil popped in. Everything's spicy. He shared it out. That's cool. I see a few of you shared it out. I want to thank you for that. That's awesome. Kirk Whipper Voyager Center. Tim's here. That's awesome too. Love seeing Tim popping in. And plain old Chuck says there at the end, I set my alarm because he knew he'd fall asleep. And Rain Dancer just popped in. Great to see you, Rain Dancer. Okay, folks, you guys, yeah, me Dibble was here 1.5 hours ago, and he's still here. Yeah, me Dibble, that's devotion. Thank you, thank you. So this evening's topic, worthless information. I people would think, well, how can you do a show about worthless information? And what do we have here? Thank you, Phil. Phil. Yeah, Phil. All Phil's doing is renewing his membership. That is so awesome of you, Phil. Thank you. So obviously your card worked. That's cool. I wouldn't call that. There we go. I wouldn't call that worthless information. That's very valuable information. I have struggled over the years with the issue of worthless information. And I thought, well, that's something I definitely can speak to because hey, Crazy Ann, worthless information has been so involved in my life. And what I want to talk to you about is, oh, Mr. Fulton, sorry about your voice there, buddy. But what I want to talk to you about this evening is on the topic of worthless information. There's worthless information that is absolutely worthless. And then there's worthless information that, unbeknownst to us, could be of great value in the future. So we're going to talk about the value of worthless information and then the shortcomings of worthless information. Um, yeah, Me Dibble says worthless information, worthless to most, but useful to some. And it can be worthless to us. And in the future, we realize, boy, was that valuable information. There are many different types of worthless information, right? The now for myself, this is just this is just my opinion. It's just myself. The way I feel about worthless information is that worthless information is information that doesn't have anything to do with you personally. You can't even relate to it because it doesn't have anything to do with you personally, or it has nothing to do with your family, people that you are personally involved with, or your direct friends. It has nothing to do with them. And I got sirens outside. I hope you don't hear that on this microphone. This microphone shouldn't pick it up. And then also, it's worthless information if it has nothing to do with your outside life, with your work or anything that you're involved in. So if all three of those categories it has nothing to do with, then I think you can call that worthless information. It's information you just don't need, right? Right? But how often have any of you, now it's happened quite a few times for me, where I've had somebody just out of the blue, they start chewing on your ear, blah, 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 about something that doesn't have to do with me personally, doesn't have anything to do with my work, it doesn't have anything to do with my personal life and friends and family. And they're just rap, 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 and right away you go, well, that's worthless information. Yeah, they're coming to get me. But so many times, years later, all of a sudden I find myself in a situation that relates to that worthless information that person was dumping on me years ago. And I'm going, oh boy, oh boy. I wish I would have actually listened to that information, not just hear it and then ignore it, because I can remember just enough of it that they were touching on points, on issues that I figured would never rear its ugly head in my lifetime. It got nothing to do with me. And then all of a sudden it does. And I think back and try to remember what they were saying. There could be some good advice in what they were saying, but I titled it as worthless information. And here I am wishing I had that information. And it's even worse when you realize I can't even go back to that person now and get them to tell me again. Now, how often have you, now I've been guilty of this, how often have you had somebody yakking away at you and you just kind of close it out because it's just totally worthless information? I don't need to know that stuff. So I'm not even paying attention. And they happen to be a fairly good friend. Well, then the next day, within 24 hours, they go, you remember yesterday when I was telling you blah, 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 blah? And you're telling yourself, hey, I remember you were telling me something, but I wasn't paying attention to you because it was just worthless information. And they go, I just found out today that this, and this happened. That's what I was talking about. And you're like, I don't even remember what you were talking about. It was only yesterday. Now that's pretty damn embarrassing because that means you were not even paying attention to them. And now you've been caught. It's real obvious. She said, Chris, usually during all your live streams, just not listening. Just a bunch of worthless information, right? Right? Well, see, now I kicked myself in the butt when I realized I should have been paying closer attention because a situation arose where I could have used that actual, at that time, worthless information. And because I kicked myself in the pants a few times for thinking that way, I started paying a little more close attention, even when a person is rattling on, blah, 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 and it doesn't have a thing to do with you in any sense whatsoever. I started paying attention to what they're saying anyway. Because what if? What if down the road, what they were trying to tell me is going to make my life a heck of a lot easier because all of a sudden I find myself in that situation, the exact situation they were talking about. But I initially told myself that'll never happen in my lifetime. Ain't going to happen to me. No. Well, so there is a benefit to worthless information. Don't dwell on it. Don't take worthless information and make it a priority, but make it your take a little extra effort and just listen and hear that worthless information out so that it can embed itself in your files back here in case you need it someday. Oh, Eileen, you have done so much for the channel lately, girl. I want a big super thank you. Big super thank you. The excuse me. But now here's one of the downfalls of worthless information. If you decide you're going to start paying a little more attention to some of that worthless information, and you start keeping it back in your memory, just storing it away and saying, what if, what if? Gemma, thank you too. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, girl. I had my ex-spouse said, Sty, that really, really pees me off. She says, everything, the dumbest things in the world, you burn that to memory. And she said, and you'll bring that stuff up to me weeks, months, years later. And she says, and I don't even care because it is worthless information. But you got that all stuck in your head. She said, how the hell can you tell the difference between all that worthless information and all of the important information? I said, well, worthless and important stand out like sore thumbs, So it's easy to tell which is important, which is just basically worthless information. Well, she found after time, we had been married 38 years. She found after time that there was a lot of odd things she would ask me questions about. She'd ask me, have you ever heard of such? And I stop and think and I go, a few years ago, I had somebody rattling on about that to me. And, they said this, and this. And she'd go, oh, well, cool. Thank you. I had just heard that from somebody else and I was wondering about it. And I always told her, I said, well, it was just some of that worthless information I got in my head. Oh, that would pee her off. Oh, that would make her so mad. she'd say, stop it, stop it. I don't want to hear your worthless information. I said, you asked a question. I personally don't know. All I know is that somebody else knows, I guess, because they were rattling on to me about it. And I thought, that's worthless information. I'll just file that away, right? But there it was. It was available when she'd asked me. And I told her, I said, if you ask me a worthless question, a question that typically there would be no answer for, I said, now, most of the time I have answers because I've got worthless information to go along with some of the worthless questions that I get asked. Oh, that would upset her so much. Upset her so much. Gemma, I've got told I have too much. That's why. Yeah, I've been accused of that so many times. Sty, your head is packed full of worthless information. Now, I've had a lot of people figure, well, your daily activities and certain small events in life and stuff, that's just information you kind of got stuck with. And to share that with somebody else, it's just worthless information. Well, if I had that kind of outlook in my life, my channel wouldn't be what it is. I wouldn't be a storyteller. Storytellers, they even listen to the BS. I mean, yeah, you're filling me full of worthless information, but someday that worthless information might be a good storyline, That worthless information might just make the difference in a story. I don't believe that that any information is all worthless. There's some value in any information people share. Now, for me, one good way to determine just how worthless information is when you have somebody. Now, second half of the show, I'm going to talk about some true life examples. Oh, excuse me. But how many of you have been in the situation where, it's tough. Okay, so there's a group of folks. You're sitting amongst a group of folks. It could be 4, 5, 8 people. You're sitting in a group and you're talking about something. And I'm going to give an example after the half-hour mark, but you're talking about something, a topic that everybody in the group has interest in, and they all have good input, and the conversation is going just beautifully, and then you got one odd character in the bunch. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, they pop out a comment that has absolutely nothing to do with the conversation. And you're all sitting there awkward, like, where did that come from? Holy smokes. He don't have a screw loose. He had one just fall out because we weren't even 1,000 miles from that statement he just made. And then they take that comment and they run with it. And so out of 8 people, 7 of them are sitting there for the next 10 minutes while this person rattles on about something that none of them ever discussed, ever brought up. They don't know where it came from because it had nothing to do with what they all were enjoying a conversation in. and that person runs for 5-10 minutes on that topic all by themselves because nobody else has anything to attach themselves to the topic. It's like, that's got nothing to do with me personally, my public life, my work, nothing. I don't even know what they're talking about. Now that's kind of worthless information because you're dumping it on 7 individuals that haven't got a clue. So they can't even converse with each other and say, oh yeah, you know what he's saying, I seen that, you know, but no, none of them can because they're so shocked by such a shift in their conversation that you've got 7 collective minds saying that is worthless information. It just doesn't belong here. I mean, I have seen that happen so many times, and like I said, I'll give some real life examples after the break, and I think you'll get a kick out of some of them. Me Dibble says, well, I like to watch YouTube channels about blacksmith, and the technique for me totally worthless. However, it's interesting. See, and that's it, is it's not worthless. I love that example, Me Dibble. I love that example because there are things, I tell you what, I love the space race, man. I love the whole idea. You know, I was so into NASA as a growing up. 1969 was the year, man. We're going to the moon, right? You wouldn't get my butt in a rocket. And I looked so deep into the space program and what's it take to become an astronaut and what do you got to do? Where do you got to go? And I could have helped anybody get themselves into the NASA Academy. I knew all the ropes. Totally worthless because I ain't going there. Because this old boy ain't strapping his butt to a rocket. No, it ain't happening. I'm not going to do it. But we have interests that what makes something, information, worthwhile is that it's going to provide you with something. And that is one thing that it provides. It feeds your interests. And if you're not at all interested, that's, you know, if somebody says, well, let me tell you all about my job. Well, what's your job? Well, I stitched the elastic on men's underwear. And boy, there's a lot to that. Boy, let me tell you, I'm really not terribly interested in that. I don't think I'm going to hear the whole story because I won't be paying close attention. You know, okay. Now if there's funny things that happen at work, that might be interested. It might become worthwhile information because that I'd be interested in. But how to install a elastic waistband on underwear is just not my forte, right? So if a friend of mine says, oh, let me tell you about what my job is all about, and it's a job that it's so mundane that I'm not really interested. I don't really want to know. Well, what if you lose your job and then all of a sudden the only job you see available online or in the local newspaper is installing waistbands on men's underwear? I should have listened to the guy, I guess. So, it's so often that it's easy for us. I know it is for me. The I I can so often say, nah, don't need to know. Don't need to know. Well, actually, I don't need to know today. I might need to know tomorrow or next week, next year. But today, I don't need to know. So it's worthless. Again, is it really worthless? It's only worthless in a moment. We're going to talk about that a little more in depth also. Hey, Jockey 551, it's great to see you. Great to see you. Gemma is saying, like the information I research. That's it, And what's worthless information to one person or a group of people, because of your own personal interests, that might be some very valuable information for you. And I'm going to talk a little on that issue, on how we actually can create the intake of what others would think is worthless information. And that's it, is Gemma has every reason in the world to be researching and hearing all kinds of issues on autism from one end of the whole topic all the way to the other end, where a lot of us, what we're interested in is the core of the topic, not the whole broad topic, because that takes a lot of effort. I mean, that girl puts a lot of time and effort into her research. And for a lot of us, our interests would have to actually be put aside to even attempt to do what she does. So it doesn't mean that just because that information might not be useful to most people doesn't make it worthless information. Exactly. I try to never judge a person's interests, and I really don't like interfering with their interests. I'll hear them out, but that information may not ever apply to me. But I'm a person, I like to hear about people, and that means sometimes I'm taking in worthless information because I can't use it. Because it's particular to them, to their life. But I think worthless information is a blast. You can have fun with worthless information, actually. We're going to talk about that after this little break. What I do at this time, at the half-hour mark, of course, is I shout out my channel members. Now, this is not updated. I have a couple of new members. They'll be on the new little clip for Sunday night. I did not have a chance to update it this morning. So, but keep in mind, I got a couple new members. So if you're there Sunday night, you'll see them in the clip Sunday night. But we run this, it's a minute and a half long, and then we'll be right back on the topic. I'll see you in just a minute. big, hearty thank you to all those wonderful members of my channel. Was that worthless information? Oh, absolutely not. Everybody in that little clip, every one of those channels are awesome. They're awesome. They're all awesome people. So, hey, Dr. Smith, it is great to see you. Great to see you. So, some of the examples of real life things. I had a conversation once. There was about a half a dozen of us, 6, 7 of us, and we're in this conversation. And at that time, I lived in farm country just outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Big, huge metro area, Minneapolis, St. Paul, over 1 million people living in it. Thinking huge community. But I'm out in the farm country to the west of it, right? But I worked in the cities. So I'd commute into town, commute back out. We had a farm at the time, the ex-spouse and I. And we're having this conversation with a group of folks. And they were doing some unusual road construction around the Twin Cities at the time. Well, that made it a bummer to get around. Rush hour was a killer, and everybody was trying to figure out alternate routes they could use, especially those that commuted in and out of those cities every single day. If we could find out from somebody else, oh, I found this route, I found that route, and make our lives a lot easier. So we were in a deep conversation about this issue of the city traffic at the time. I mean, bad city traffic. And out of the blue, one of the fellas, okay, I would say half of our group were folks that lived in the suburbs closer into the city, and half of the group were from out in the farm country where we were at. And one of the fellas that lives out in the farm country, we're talking about that city traffic, and we're talking about how it's encroached out into the suburbs. I mean, even in the suburbs it got so you could hardly get around. And out of the blue, there was it's like somebody just stopped and took a breath. And this guy that lived out in the farm country by us, he pops in and he says, you know what? I've got to tell you guys, when a mother pig has its babies, its little piglets, you need to be right there because you got to watch, because that mother pig, she's so large, she don't realize she can roll over and actually smother her baby pigs. We all sat there. Okay, is she having these baby pigs on Interstate 35 in Minneapolis? Because that's what we're talking about. And we're all looking at each other. And even a couple of us that did farming are going, that is pretty worthless information. We really, at this point of the game, could care less about your mama pig. But he kept on and on. And he carried on about mother pigs and piglets for a good 10 minutes. And all of a sudden, I realized everybody in our group had totally lost interest in even carrying a discussion on any topic, because this person stepped in with something totally irrelevant, totally off topic, and totally did not apply to any of us. I was raising a couple of feeder pigs. They're not going to have babies. Nobody else there had pigs, just him. My pigs just don't roll over on each other and smother each other, those two. I could care less about raising baby pigs. None of us cared about raising baby pigs. And every single one of us realized each of us had no interest. And I had to pull that individual to the side later and try to explain to him. When you're in a discussion with even one other person, it doesn't have to be a group, but with one other person, keep in mind that if you interject with a topic that is so off key, that usually will end the conversation because it becomes one-sided, because the recipient's not listening anymore. They have no interest in what you're talking about. And this individual pushed us all over that limit. We were just like, baby pigs, eh? The save mini pigs. Save mini pigs. The the rain dancer lived in St. Paul as a kid. That's cool. That's cool. Those were different days. I mean, I get down to the Twin Cities once in a great while now. Not once a year typically now. After my mother passed away, she lived west of Minneapolis, St. Paul, and I grew up in the suburbs. And I used to have reason to go down there all the time. Well, now I've got a sister and her husband, and my sister-in-law and her children. They live in the suburbs, those folks, and so I try to get down there once a year to see them. But when my mother was still with us, I traveled down there 4 or 5 times a year. Got to spend time with mom. Okay, now we don't want to get off of this worthless information. Another thing that makes information worthless, even though it may really not be, is when you realize, oh yeah, I heard that, and I heard that, and I heard that, and then I heard it again, then I heard it 10 more times, and then I think I heard it for 6 months, 8 months, every time I ever was with a certain person. Some people will feed you worthless information, but they never quit. They take the same piece of worthless information and they've got some kind of need to repeat it. I got to say this again. And they're not realizing that even if it's an audience of one, they're not holding the person's interest. The person didn't find any worth in it the first time you said it. They're not going to find any worth in it the 50th time you say it. And so it's like, oh, why do you keep repeating that? Because it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with me. Another real life type situation, and I've had it happen several times. I'm sure many of you have, where you have someone come to you and they're telling you all about their problem with someone else. And it's not like it's a tragic kind of problem where it's really messing up their lives or something. It's just they've got issues with this person and you don't know who that person is. and you try to ask them questions, but they're not giving you enough information to even figure out really what are they complaining about this person? What is the true problem here? And why are they sharing it with me? I'll I can't believe I'll ever know who this person is or was. And it's not a big critical issue of any kind. It's just kind of like whining, you know. And you're like, why why are they telling me this? Why is that getting put in my head? I don't want that. I don't need it. That's excess baggage. And yeah, yeah. I I try if I'm going to talk about somebody that other people don't know, I want to give enough backstory about that individual so that they can relate to how am I related to that person that this is an issue. But if I just start talking about the issues and I mention this person and the person I'm talking to goes, well, who's that? Well, you don't know him, but, and they just keep going on and on. And you're like, I don't have enough of the story to even understand why you're complaining or, and it's like, okay, taking up space in my head again with stuff that I don't understand. We have to be a little more effective in how we present our conversations and the things we say so that they don't become worthless, that there's some value in what we say. Now, the hey Sarika, it is awesome to see you. The is think it's the one receiving this info to inform speaker that is useless info. Just asking. Yes, and you can do it in a tactful way, but there are people that don't get that I don't know. They just don't get it. You try to softly and be friendly about it and explain to them that, hey, I don't have a clue what you're talking about. You know, I, yeah, you haven't got my full attention because I don't understand you. I don't know what you're trying to tell me. I would say close to 9 out of 10 people, they'll go, oh, okay. Well, then you need a little backstory, And like I said just a few minutes ago, backstory is important to validate the information. And information without validation of some sort where you can relate to it becomes worthless. It becomes totally worthless because you can't apply it. You can't apply it to your own personal life. You can't apply it to somebody else's life and something they're going through because you don't understand what they're saying to you because they're not presenting it in a valuable way. The communication is a big, big thing. Um, when people start talking to you and all of a sudden you feel that the information they're trying to convey to you has no meaning and it's totally worthless. A person has to use caution because they may be trying to describe something to you in good faith. You don't know why because it doesn't apply to you. It's very easy for us to accidentally say something, to drop one of those lines where now you hurt a feeling, and the thing is, let's not get on the, oh, you hurt my feelings, blah, blah, blah. They ought to outlaw that. You shouldn't be allowed to say that to it. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you don't want to build walls between you and them for communication, and And just because you didn't understand what they said, you don't want to come off as condescending. You don't want to come down as non-sympathetic. You don't want to, you want them to understand that you don't. I don't understand. I haven't a clue what you're talking about. That's honest. I mean, I've done that. I've gotten right in certain friends' faces and said, "Hey, I haven't got a clue what the hell you're talking about. That stuff's going right over my head. I don't know what the heck you're talking about. You just wasted a lot of wind because I don't understand any of what you said." And usually it ends up in a good laugh, and the Sarika's saying best way to cut off a flow of useless verbal diarrhea is to change the subject when they take a breath. This course of action, of course, after you indicated that it's useless in the info shared. Yeah, and that's it. And that's I guess that's where one of our just natural bad habits of trying to think of a response when someone's speaking to you. You're trying to think of how will I respond to what they're saying. And like I had said in my last show about friendships and the like, you really shouldn't be trying to develop your response while they speak. Hear them completely out, because the question you're thinking of asking, they may be already answering it in their statement to you, but you missed it because you're too busy trying to think of a response. So try to hold the response to the end. But if you got somebody that is rattling on and they never take a breath, I mean, I've seen some of them where you're going, you're taking breaths. You're going, because you're wondering, how the hell can he breathe talking like that? He never takes a break. I mean, the guy don't need air like I do, obviously. And when they won't give you that opportunity to intervene, that's when just you can hold your hand up and say, whoa, 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 while they're talking, whoa, 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 until they get the point. And then they go, what? Then now you got that's your cue. You can jump in there and say, none of this makes a darn bit of sense to me. And I'd really rather talk about this. And then you take control and bring a topic up that they would have a response for, but a topic that you would also be interested in. Now you've redirected them away from that, what for you is totally worthless information. You redirected them and it meets your needs. Now you're interested. Now you're actually hearing everything they say. But I've had people where I've downright had to tell them, hey, you need to shut up. Shut up. Shut up. We're not here for a lecture. We're here for a conversation. You need to shut up. We heard enough. Heck, we'll give you another turn at it next week. But for today, you're done. Boy, we're so loaded up with your worthless information that we can't handle it anymore. So you're done. It's our turn now. I've had to do that a few times. I feel bad when I have to cut somebody off like that. But staying on topic and having a conversation with one or more people and sticking to the topic until the topic has been used up. Then open it to someone else, because then it appears to be a totally new issue. Now, if it's worthless information, it won't take you long to realize, well, Yeah, this is actually going to go nowhere because I don't understand. I don't get it. Look for that opportunity to change the topic again and then move on, you know. Um, but worthless information, sometimes some of it is hilarious. I've been in conversations where out of the blue somebody will say, "Oh, did you hear about such and such and such?" And you're like, "No, that's totally worthless. I don't need to know that," but that's kind of funny. And it's funny because I don't understand. I don't have the backstory. I don't have any details. I just got what you're saying, and it's coming off funny. It's coming off funny. Now all of a sudden, that worthless information turned into entertainment, which now it's not worthless anymore. So I think all we can do as individuals is make the best of worthless information. I mean, the world's full of it. The world's full of it. I had someone tell me, "Oh, I watch 5 different news networks. Every one of them, every news report they do." And I said, "Do you ever notice they're saying the same thing?" And they said, "Well, yeah, kind of." I well, kind of. I mean, okay, so and so robbed a bank. Change the channel. So and so robbed a bank. Change the channel. So and so robbed the bank. Change the channel. So and so robbed the bank. And we're looking for him. Every one of them say that. And we're looking for him. We could use your help. We're looking for him. And that person's like, "Oh my gosh, I got to get on Facebook and let everybody know we're looking for that bank robber." Well, they live in Portland, Oregon, and the bank robbery was in Miami, Florida. Now, wait a minute. The information, the very first time you heard about it, that's interesting. That's not worthless information. That's something trending. There's something new. The fourth, fifth, sixth time you heard about it from different people, and it's all the same story, really is worthless information because you already heard all that. You heard it once already. You don't need to hear it again. That's all worthless information now. The first source, that was worthwhile, but everything after that wasn't because there's no updates. It's just the same repeating. And then you taking it to the point of saying, "I'm going to put it all over my Facebook that we have to look out for this person." That is almost 2,500 miles away from me. 2,500 miles away from me, people better be looking for that person. But all your Facebook friends, 90% of them are from Oregon. Are they going to go out there and look for this person? No, no. So putting that up there and saying, "Hey, all my friends, you need to watch for this person," is worthless information. Now, sometimes things we do is reactionary, and and it just happens. But it's when people that, I mean, they live by it. I mean, they live for taking in worthless information and then giving it back out. I'll just share that. Uh, you know, you know, misery loves company. Gemma, you're a sweetheart. Oh, I hope it helps. I hope it. Like I said early in the show, I just hope you get something from the show that you can take with you, that you can think about later, and just say, "Oh man, I might think before I act on this person that's constantly giving me now misinformation. That's a whole different story. Worthless information. The 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 just get each other want to end up so Netflix. Yeah, conversations can die out. That's it. And that's why I try to tell people always add some interest into your conversations with people. You do have poetic rights. And that's where storytellers, it's like I tell people, many of my stories go way back, 50 years or more. Days of black and white, guys. And people say, well, Sty, I can't believe how you can make a story sound so interesting. And I tell them that's because a lot of my stories were in black and white. So I pull the palette out and my brush and a little dab of color here and there in the form of descriptive backstory, descriptive context within the heart of the story. You add that little bit of color. You don't lie. You just add. You touch the painting up with a little bit of color to keep the interest in the true story. And we need to do that in conversation also. You know, when we're having conversation with people, it doesn't hurt. Pull that palette out and dab a little bit of color into that conversation. It makes you and everybody else more comfortable and happy with that discussion, with that conversation. And if it's worthless information, if you can take somebody's worthless information, pull your palette out, and dab a little color on that worthless information, and reflect it right back at the person that's been giving it to you, it'll take them off track. And all of a sudden, your conversation broadens and becomes more colorful. So there you go, guys. There's a little bit of Sty rattling on about worthless information. I hope you didn't find it to be all worthless information. If anything, I would never consider it worthless simply because I got to spend the time with you guys today. That makes it all worthwhile. And the next Sty Times, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting topic. Tiny bit serious, quite a bit funny. I think we're going to have fun with the next topic. So, being it's Friday, I'll see you Monday evening at 5 p.m. Central Time. And the topic, I'm going to say it before it even plays at the closing here. It's, I must have broken the law. Think about that one over the weekend, guys. And if you're available, I'll see you Sunday evening for Sty Story Sunday. I would love you all. You all take very good care of yourselves, and I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.